Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Liquor Control Commission for Monday, August 5th, 2013. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. During our break the last couple of weeks, a member of our family had passed away suddenly from the police department. Officer Shamika Goodwin Badger, who was a 5-year employee of the Village of Wheeling and part of our family. So I'd like to take this moment of silence on her behalf. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Kruger? Here. Commissioner Hein?
Yep.
Commissioner Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Here?
Here.
Commissioner Brady?
Here.
Commissioner Lang?
Here.
Chairperson Argyris?
Here. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of special meeting for July 15, 2013.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lang, second by Commissioner Vogel. Roll call.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hein?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Here?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Chairperson Argyris?
Yes. 5A, Madam Clerk.
In consideration of a Class L liquor license, Georgia's Incorporated Signature Flight Support, 1064 South Milwaukee, for an event to take place on August 21st, 2013.
Thank you. Mr. Svandos.
Thank you. The event, as indicated, is set for August 21st. We have received an application. We are still waiting for the payment of license fees, certificate of insurance, and proof of Bassett training. There is plenty of time for the petitioner to get that in, but I would ask that you make those items condition of approval. And again, that is submission of license fees, certificate of insurance, and proof of Bassett training.
Questions?
So moved with the conditions mentioned.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Vogel, second by Commissioner Lang. Roll call.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hein?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Here?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Chairperson Argyris?
Yes. 5B, Madam Clerk.
In consideration of a Class H liquor license, PIL WCNS Beverage Services, LLC, DBA, the Westin Chicago North Shore Hotel, 601 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Svandos.
Thank you. As you may know, the building for the Westin Hotel has been sold and is now under new management. So in order to continue operating with their liquor license, we needed to change the license to reflect the new manager, who I believe is here tonight.
There it is.
All appropriate paperwork has been submitted and ready for your consideration.
Questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Vogel, second by Commissioner Hein. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hein?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Here?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Chairperson Argyris?
Yes. Welcome to town. Good luck. Thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Here, second by Commissioner Brady. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hein?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Here?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Chairperson Argyris?
Yes. Okay. Special meeting of the Liquor Commission is over with. Let's see what we got here. Why is this all mixed up here? Excuse me. Okay. The regular meeting for Monday, August 5th is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger?
Here.
Trustee Hein?
Here.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Here.
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
President Argyris?
Here. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of July 1st, 2013.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Here, second by Trustee Brady. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Yes. Entertain a motion for the workshop meeting of July 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Lang, second by Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
I have to abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris?
Yes. Changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Entertain a motion to appoint Stephen Kahn to the Senior Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Hare, second by Trustee Brady. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris?
Yes. Administration of votes. Mr. Kahn, if you can come over here. Village Clerk, thank you.
You raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Stephen Kahn,
Stephen Kahn,
having been appointed to the Senior Commission
being appointed to the Senior Commission
in the Village of Wheeling,
of Village of
in
Wheeling,
the counties of Cook and Lake,
Counties of Cook and Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will safely discharge the duties of
of Office of Senior Commissioner
the Office of Senior Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Mr. Kahn, on behalf of the board, thank you for taking the time and wanting to get involved with our community. Our senior director will be in contact with you any day now, I'm sure, to get you up to snuff with what's going on. Thank you again. Okay. Citizens' concerns and comments. I want to read the thing first.
Okay, go ahead, read.
No, read your
Oh,
thing first.
members of the general public may address the board with concerns or comments regarding relevant issues. The person submitting a petition, concern, or other comment shall be allotted 5 minutes to present their points and should state their name and address into the record.
I'm going to start, go out of task a little bit here, but there's a bright and beautiful 10-year-old little girl that lives in our community with her family, and she suffers from a congenital muscular dystrophy and neuromuscular sclerosis. The village board has kind of taken her under our wing a little bit and try to help in whatever way we can as individuals. And there's a business in town that had heard about this and wanted to do something special as well, Pete Miller's Restaurant. Emma Alt is probably, it breaks your heart when you see this little kid. I mean, she's just smiling and just a happy young little girl. And on July 30th, she required a high-risk surgery immediately to try to straighten her spine. And doctors had said that, there's a good chance she may not survive. Right now, she's still in intensive care. It's day to day. I spoke with her mother today. And they had to perform this surgery to try to straighten the curve and of her spine. Otherwise, the curvature would have done severe damage and probably would have been fatal to her life regarding her organs and stuff. Her mother, Tanya, who's a very nice lady who we've met, John Spondilis, myself, unfortunately was in a severe accident where she's got her own issues. They have a daughter, Emma, that lives with them. Their father, Pete, had to quit his job, not just to take care of his wife, but also take care of his daughters. So here's a family in dire need, and here's a business in our community that really stepped up to the table. The owner of Pete Miller's, Steve Sin, had sent me an email about 3 weeks ago. He goes, what can we do to help? We're part of the family too, we're part of the community. So what they had done July 23rd through the 30th, 15% of the checks went directly to Emma's family. For that week, any proceeds that they collected went to that family. And this evening we have one of the representatives there, Kevin Boudreau, that like to make an announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Kevin Boudreau. I am one of the managers over at Pete Miller's Steakhouse, and I've only been with the company about 2 months, but it took me all of 4 minutes of talking with Steve to realize what a really great guy he is. I mean, he's very family-oriented. Throughout my entire interviewing process and the hiring process, we talked more about our families than we did the business, and I made a real good connection with him. And when he approached the management staff and the team at Pete Miller's with Emma's condition and her family's story, it touched all of us. I mean, I'm a father of 2. He's got a great family, and when he had mentioned that he wanted to help out, it really touched me, as well as all of our staff. So we really pushed hard to bring awareness of Emma and her family to all of our guests that came through the restaurant. And, I'm proud today to honor a check in the Alt family name on behalf of Pete Millers for $1,000. And we do have one other personal check from one of our guests for a separate $100 check by them. They came in and they were just touched and they were in tears hearing the story. So that night he came back with a check for Emma and her family. So I'd like to present this check to you.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Ms. Covina?
Hello, everybody. I'm Ms. Covina. I have a lot of concerns here. I cannot discuss my address because it would be security threatening, danger situations. I will live in a neighborhood that is not very, safe. You got kids outside after curfew hours, going to other people's property, and also harassing other people they don't like. The parents is telling them what to do. The parking is atrocious over there. I have to get some of my parking angels in Cedar Run to call the police and get the parking straightened out. They park at corners, yellow curbing, fire hydrants, block the streets, block other people's driveways. Park near no parking zone signs, which it's an official traffic device, is the law. Another thing is dogs are running loose off of leashes. People are buying pit bulls and staging dog fights in Cedar Run. The gang members are doing this. Other things in general. People are speeding through our community. They don't give a darn about anything. The Homeowners Association of the Cedar Run don't care about anything. Nothing. Our pool is not opened because they don't want to do this. We're very heartbroken because we couldn't have the Rocks and the Cops party at our subdivision. Every year we have it, but we can't. Sometimes Officer Shamika Badger, what's it called, participates and stops by and sees us. She used to come by me all the time and stop and chat. As a good officer, to check up on me and see if I'm safe and other people, that we are safe from the other management. We can't even walk our streets without picking up the phone and calling the police. We don't want to do this. We want to live in peace. We don't want to bother the police because they got other things to do. Not just to babysit transgenders or transsexuals or anybody that's ordinary danger. We could be doing something else instead of making what's called the police come out there periodically. The police has got 43,000 people, and Cedar Run is not the only subdivision in Cook County. And sometimes the calls are atrocious, and the people, 911 operators, get mad and say, "Why are you calling us all the time?" We have to fear our life because we have a communist management that don't care about anything. I have been through it. Damages to my house, damage to my mom's car. I had made a couple of police reports about this. And they said, "We don't want your kind living here." Well, you know what? We should bring the Wheeling Human Rights Commission back again. And then we could step up and fight against this corruption, which they call Russian Al Capone. We have our lives to live just like everybody else. We want to live in peace. We don't want to live in terrorism. And the streets, They don't care about anything. Speeding, dogs off the leash, even dangerous dogs, pit bulls. And we worry about that. I had to call the police, which I called on Sunday, because somebody had their dog running around Cedar Run Drive and Locust Court. And the guy's talking on his cell phone, and then after that, the dog is on the property. And then Officer Kim has to go over there and say, put your dog on a leash. We have a leash law. I had to do that with Corporal Ray on a Saturday. Oh, and another thing is cell phones. They are talking on cell phones when they're driving. They're not supposed to be doing that when they're turning the corner or coming down the street. We would like the village board and the police department to make a law, just like Buffalo Grove has. If anybody's on a cell phone, they should be ticketed $100 or a court appearance.
Ms. Covino, 5 minutes is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, staff reports, I'm sorry. Mr. Janik?
Yes, thank you. My report tonight is relative to the bike path that's being constructed along Dundee Road. Construction started late last week and this morning as well. The time period for that construction should take about 2.5 months. They've started using a grader to excavate area for the bike path or pedestrian path from Wheeling's east limit over to the bridge on Dundee Road. So expect probably 2.5 months of construction for that bike path.
Thank you. Consent agenda, Madam Clerk?
All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items.
Thank you. Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Lang, second by Trustee Brady. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Yes. There is no old business, new business?
All listed items for discussion and possible action. 13A, resolution accepting a bid and approving a contract with Core Mechanical Incorporated for the 2013 HVAC unit replacement program.
Director Janik?
Thank you. This is a request to approve a contract for HVAC equipment for 233 West Hintz Road as well as 199 North Wolf Road. These consist of air conditioning units, air conditioning rooftop units for those structures.
Questions from the board?
So moved.
I have one, if I may, real quick. What is the status on 233? Ownership status?
233 is still being leased out to Mavis, and that lease will continue for, I believe, another 3 years.
Okay.
At which time they will transfer ownership to Mavis from the village.
So there was nothing in that lease that would require them to take care of the mechanics or replace any of the mechanics, is that correct?
No, we're still acting as landlord of that building, both the building itself as well as the grounds. We take care of it. Now, there are some instances that Mavis has done projects on the building and in the building at with their own dime.
Okay.
So they actually have done a lot of work on the building to make it more valuable and just to operate for themselves in a better way. That they have not requested any monetary contribution by the village.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Trustee Heer. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Lang. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Yes. 13B?
Resolution waiving competitive bidding and accepting a contract with Automatic Systems Company for the supervisory control and data acquisition, system design, and upgrade.
Thank you. Director Janik?
Thank you. This is a request to approve a contract for the village's SCADA system. The SCADA system is a control system in the village that controls our hydraulic pressure, and it lets the Public Works Department know the status of various standpipes, water towers, as well as levels for flooding in, say, the diversionary channel or other locations. What's requested tonight is an approval of an upgrade to that system for approximately $187,000. This project was budgeted, or is budgeted in the CIP for $325,000.
Questions from the board? Trustee Brady?
In the report, it mentions several of the reasons that this is supposedly inadequate, that it's difficult to use, difficult to maintain. One of the biggest complaints was it uses a landline, and occasionally the landline will go dead. We got to send a guy out there. Is it in that bad a shape that we right now have to spend $187,000?
Trustee Brady, as a matter of fact, I'm not going to tell you it's a emergency today, but we've had innumerable problems with the landline telephone system that we currently have. Most any municipality that is upgrading their systems are going to this radio or to a non-landline system just because of issues with these systems. I was talking to the utility superintendent, Jeff Wolkram, even tonight, and he's had issues just this week and this weekend for some reason with the AT&T system that's currently being used. He is here tonight if you want some technical questions about the system. But this is a situation that we need to keep systems like this upgraded as much as possible. They're very important to the village, as you can imagine, and an upgrade to a system like this reduces our reliance on people at the village. If something happens today with the system, somebody has to actually come into the village. When it's on the radio system, it's a much more efficient system.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just wondered, is it that bad right now? Because any of us, our house phones go out periodically. Does it happen that often, or because you say that you have to send a guy out there for several days to monitor it manually, But then again, from the division, I hear we desperately need more people, and we're spending money on new equipment to get rid of people, and I'm just, is this a wise move right now? We're trying to get more people in here because we need the people, because everybody's overloaded with the way the economy's been. And if $187,000 would hire another person, that might be more beneficial to Public Works. I think that might be a better move at this point. I'm not saying that this shouldn't be done, but I'm just saying it's right now the right time. I know we budgeted for it. I know you've done some research on the bidding and everything else. Also, that the company that won the bid is also the same company that maintains our existing equipment. So you wonder if maybe some of these facts are maybe a little bit tipped towards new equipment. Just a thought. But anyways, I don't know. I just think that we go out and we upgrade, and is it really necessary? We haven't heard any problem with this up until now. Why was it budgeted? Yeah, eventually some things have to be upgraded, but is now the right time? That's all I'm asking.
In our opinion, it is. One reason why, if you're questioning why this was not publicly bid and why we're requesting a waiver, is because this system is an important system to the village, and it's also a security concern. For us to go out on a public bid for a system like this would allow numerous people who would be suggesting a system that wouldn't be exactly what we need, and we possibly would get stuck with a low bidder on a system that we don't want or we can't operate. The fact that the current maintenance on this system, the company that's doing it, it's a bonus for us that they turn out to be the low bidder. But I've got Public Works Director Stavros who can also talk about this.
Thanks, Mark. As you know, the system, our water system is gravity. We don't pump into the system. The towers are filled through Northwest Water Commission, and our pressure is from the towers, from the elevated tanks, and the system works on gravity. The SCADA system, what it does is it operates what we call the altitude valves throughout town. And there's sensors in certain areas of the town, also at the tower. And when one tower is using more water than another one, and the level falls, the altitude valve will open and close, and it will divert water to another tower to keep the towers at equal elevations. The current system, Siemens, that we have is non-reliable at this point, and it certainly is not something that we can get parts for. Seems as though for some reason, and again, this could be debated, Siemens seems to be looking to get out of the business of water on the water end of it. I don't know why. It's proprietary. And parts you can't get. It takes weeks to get them sometimes when a part goes out. The system fails. And it's not so much that we have to put people on 24 hours, but it's just that it's hard to regulate the system when you can't read it because the part isn't readable. You don't know what one end of town is doing compared to the other end. So.
And this also monitors the creeks in that?
The second phase of the RFP, when it gets sent out, will be for the lift stations, the sewer lift stations. This is strictly for the water system right now.
One last question. The winning contractor, it didn't include all of the software necessary for a total upgrade. How are we going to handle that? Well, as it says here, while AISC included some software upgrades that were not included in the ASC proposal, the software included does not account for the approximate $50,000 difference between the two proposals. So the winning contractor did not include some software? Is that what that's saying?
I believe it was the other bidders bid out new computer system, and so we went back to the winning or the low bidder and asked them to include a computer system to run the system. And I believe that's what we're talking about. Am I correct, Jeff?
Yes.
You want to?
The software is included.
Originally, when the proposal came in, it was not. And after we evaluated the proposal with AECom, it was added to at a later time, and it was still the lowest proposal provided.
So the $187,000 total upgrade?
Total upgrade.
Everything brand new?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sure, I have one question.
Trustee Herr?
On the software, how often does it have to be updated? Every 5 years, every year, or every?
I would say every 5 years, but we did bring a representative from Automatic Systems here. He'd probably be able to give you a better answer on how frequent it would need to be upgraded.
Sure, I'd like to hear that. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Brian Orr with Automatic Systems. I've been in the business for about 28 years, originally with some companies you might know, Allen Bradley, Emerson, Schneider Square D. And with the system you're looking at, it's very similar to buying computers and things, right? Over the years, computer systems get upgraded. You get, we had the 2000 scare and all those kind of things, right? So there are times that you need to upgrade the system. This system right now, as it sits, is about 5 years old, about 5 or 6 years. And we're going to be upgrading it to get more capacity out of the SCADA alarming package, which actually dials the emergencies out to the employees when there's a problem. Because right now it's done on a hardware maintenance type system that's obsolete. So we're going to a new system that'll allow that a much more flexible, expandable system for the team, Jeff's team. So when they get those calls, they know what the alarms are, they have a better idea what to fix, and it's much more expandable in that regard. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
It does. I mean,
it's software.
I know, I understand that. You did answer it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee Vogel?
Are these maintenance upgrades free, or is there an annual maintenance fee, software fee, above and beyond this cost?
We don't charge any. I don't know, Jeff, if you have any maintenance with Wonderware. I don't believe they do.
No.
Typically, they don't. I'm not sure of the package they had with their existing relationship, but no, typically there isn't.
And the other thing, data acquisition was mentioned a lot of times. What Tony pretty much described, levels, water levels, pressure, is there any usage data provided? Is there checks and balances that we know the usage based on coming out of the system? When you say data acquisition, I'm just curious what that means.
Well, SCADA system monitors all the flows, and just for instance, last year we had an alarm go off to our operator about 2 in the morning, and the water levels were dropping rapidly in 2 of the tanks. Excuse me. Operator came in. At that point, he called the superintendent. Superintendent in turn called the Northwest Water Commission, asked them to kick on high-pressure pumps to send water to Wheeling. We had a massive water main break. We couldn't locate it. We had contacted the police department. They were driving to town as the water was emptying the towers. Had we not had with this system online, we wouldn't have known it. And of course, repercussion would have been you wouldn't have had any fire protection. As it was, we did locate the break. It was out in the field over here behind the industrial center. We dug it up, isolated the valves, and by 8 o'clock in the morning when the residents got up, we had the water towers back to the right elevation.
Okay, there's no individual user tracking based on the system?
There's meters in the pump houses, but this doesn't.
Not this. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? I just got one thing. Once the system's in place, we're totally independent from AT&T and any landline operations with this system, right?
That's correct. Currently, we pay a charge per pump house or per tower, and a monthly charge, which is, I'm not sure what it is, but those charges will all go away, which is a savings, I'm thinking $10,000, $12,000 a year.
Really? And this is being funded from the Sewer and Water Fund, is that correct?
Correct.
Anything else from anybody? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Hines, second by trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Harris?
Yes. Thank you.
Item 13C, resolution authorizing change order number 1 to the construction contract with Industria Incorporated for the Northgate Bridge repair.
Thank you. There's a request for approve a change order of approximately $28,000 at the Northgate Bridge location. This doesn't have anything to do with the bridge repair itself. It has to do with roadway pavement repair on both sides of the bridge, the approaches to the bridge, as well as some curbing and sidewalk that need to be repaired that are attached to the bridge.
Questions? I have one. On the west side of the street, north of the bridge and also south of the bridge, there is need of sidewalk there. How far north and how far south of that bridge, on the west side of that bridge, are we going to be placing sidewalks?
Well, on the west side of the roadway, tonight there's a project that's going to be providing sidewalk along their frontage. That doesn't go down to the bridge. That section of sidewalk would be possibly part of a future TIF or a future construction project by the village. Currently, that property, there's right-of-way there, and unless some property gets developed adjacent to it, it would be the village putting in a sidewalk from Dundee Road north to the bridge.
So is there any opportunity now that we have jurisdiction of property to extend that sidewalk either to the north or south of the west side of the bridge? I mean, we're building a sidewalk by the bridge and all that going to nowhere right now.
On either side, it's possible. I mean,
we have easements, I guess I'm asking. Do we have any right-of-way there?
I believe that there's right-of-way. It's Northgate Parkway. I know that there's right-of-way there. Exactly how much right-of-way, I'm not sure how much there is, but I believe there's enough for a sidewalk.
Okay.
The bridge itself can't accommodate any wider of a sidewalk than already exists.
Right.
But north and south of the bridge, it's a possible project, yes.
Maybe just look into it. While these guys are out, there might be an opportune time to do something.
Can do that.
Anything else from anybody else? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Lang, second by trustee Vogel. Roll call.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris.
Yes. 13D.
Resolution authorizing the village president and village clerk to execute a letter agreement with the United States Army Corps of Engineers.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. The letter agreement before you this evening references the Levy 37 project and a parcel of land just south of Palatine Road that is jointly owned by the Village of Wheeling and the City of Prospect Heights. The only reason that this is coming before you tonight is because there's some indemnification of the municipalities that the Army Corps is requesting. Essentially, all that's happening on this small parcel of land is that the Army Corps would like to use it as a staging area as they complete the GAP project associated with Levy 37. So really, there's no impact to the Village of Wheeling or the City of Prospect Heights. It's just that they want to use our land, and for that, they'd like to be indemnified, and I can't do that. That has to come before the Village Board.
Thank you. Questions?
Just one.
Trustee Brady?
In looking at the map, it appears that there's a pond or a lake on that piece of property. Are we going to see that the Corps of Engineers protects it properly?
Of course.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Lang, second by trustee Heer. Roll call.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris.
Yes. 13E.
Resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the village president clerk to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Wheeling and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago for improvements at Heritage Park.
Thank you. Director Janik.
Thank you. This agreement, it's been a while coming, but this agreement has to do with a section of stormwater pipe that extends, that will be located on the Park District property. As you currently know, I believe, there's approximately 36 acre-feet of detention and compensatory storage located, that will be located on Heritage Park after the construction is done. That 36 acre-feet is for village use. This 72-inch pipe extends from approximately the Wicks property to Lake Heritage. And the reason why this pipe is important is because anybody who would like to use or the village would give or sell the compensatory or detention storage to would need to access this pipe to get the water to Lake Heritage. We don't want, I believe the board's heard about this intergovernmental agreement. We need to get this done because the MWRD needs to approve this agreement. And then as part of the construction now, the contractors on site would be doing that work. So the request tonight is for approximately $307,000 to install this pipe. And as part of this contract, as the memo indicates, there will be some soil located on the Wicks property, approximately 1,500 cubic yards of soil, probably at the north end, as part of this project.
Thank you. Questions?
So moved.
Just one quick
Trustee
question.
Lang?
Mark, will we use up all our water points on this? Can we have access anywhere else in the system? Should we need it in the future?
Access to what? I'm sorry.
Well, to the water storage. Can we put in pipes in another location? Should we need it?
No, I don't believe so. The location of this pipe has been located in a hydraulic way. The properties that can access this storage, generally speaking, extend from Elmhurst Road along Dundee Road, from Elmhurst to the creek on the north side of Dundee Road. That's where most of that's where the hydraulic, the water that comes to this site has to be hydraulically located to enter into the system. And generally speaking, it's the north side Dundee Road properties that would be able to access this.
Okay, thank you.
How far east?
To the creek.
Creek down here?
That's correct.
And to where? How far north?
To Elmhurst Road.
How far north?
Probably about the north edge of the Kenny property.
Okay. Has staff come up with a program, or will staff come up with a program if we're allocating certain acre feet for off-site storage, will there be a recapturing fee or some type of value to that to a future development or current development?
What we're doing right now is, we have a general idea, but we're trying to nail down exactly how much, for instance, how much compensatory storage would be needed on the properties from the creek to Elmhurst Road, just to give the board an idea of how much would be necessary if it was all filled to what's called the base flood elevation. We believe that there's enough compensatory storage for all those properties, but I'll have better figures for you maybe in a week or 10 days.
So we could recapture something then, of the 300.
If the board wants to sell that, the compensatory storage or the detention, that's up to the board. They can
That's a
give it.
huge value for development, because it gives them more site area to build.
That's exactly correct.
If I may, if the question is, can we put a dollar amount to a acre foot?
An acre foot.
We absolutely could. That way, that can be calculated as part of a TIF incentive.
Because it's a $300,000 investment. I mean, in the eyes of a developer, it's a great thing if I can go off-site for comp storage. But as a village, we should be able to recapture some of those dollars to offset the $300,000 we're spending tonight.
That's correct. And of course, each project, the value of that will fluctuate depending on what kind of project it is.
Of course. Anything else from anybody? Entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Hare, second by trustee Kruger.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris?
Yes. 13F.
Has two ordinance granting rezoning and approvals for the Northgate Crossing Planned Unit Development 100 to 250 Northgate Parkway. Ordinance 1 granting a rezoning from 1 I3 General Industrial District to MXT Transit Oriented Mixed Use District for 100 Northgate Parkway, docket number 2013-12A.
You want to read the second?
And the second one is ordinance granting preliminary plan unit development, special use site plan and appearance approval for the Northgate Crossing Plan Unit Development, 100 to 250 Northgate Parkway, docket number 2013-12B.
Thank you. Petitioners, why don't you come forward? Director Janik.
Yeah, just real quick. This project has to do with approximately 21.25 acres of land on the west side of Northgate Parkway, north of Dundee Road. Currently, the property, the majority of the property is commonly known as the Kenny property. There was an industrial property for a number of years. It was the storage of a lot of Kenny Construction's property, and there was a building on there as well. All of that was demolished and taken off the property in the last 2 years. And the Kenny family or corporation has been trying to sell the property ever since. The petitioners are here tonight proposing a apartment complex. It's approximately 288 units on the 21 acres. It also includes property just to the south of the Kenny property that is currently owned by a church. Access to this development is off of Northgate Parkway. They've been to the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission ended with a 3-3 vote, which is a negative vote in our view legislatively. And they're here tonight to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. State your name, please.
Matt Nix with Riva Development Partners, 212 West Kinsey, Chicago, Illinois, 60654.
Warren James, also with Riva Development Partners.
Thank you. Just tell us a little bit about your project here.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you. We're glad to be back here before the board. We were here a year ago in spring to present a concept plan, and we've been working closely with staff and with the land sellers, and we're happy to be back here tonight with what we believe to be actually a improvement after having gotten feedback from the plan commissioners and the trustees. And we do have an abridged presentation tonight taken from slides that we presented to the Plan Commission on the 11th and the 25th. So we would like to briefly walk you through those slides, and we'll be available to answer questions at any point throughout the presentation. Just to orient everyone in the audience, the site is it's a combination of 100 and 250 Northgate Parkway, just north of Dundee Road. It's approximately 21-acre site. We were initially drawn to this site really in our quest to find transit-oriented multifamily development sites in the northern suburbs. So our initial attraction to the site really was a substantial piece of property available for development that was within walking distance to the metro station. But as we worked with staff, as we did our market research and dug deeper into this opportunity, we really became more attracted based on the thoughtful planning by the board and the staff with respect to land assemblages, infrastructure investment, and a belief in a town center and a station area. And we believe that we are a component of a larger area that will be developed, and we think that this offers a catalyst for future development and where our property can benefit, as will benefit the station area, the town center area as well. So before we get into the specifics of the plan, just to talk about our resident profile, as I mentioned, the movement in recent years has been focused shifting from for sale housing to for rent housing. People have been through a challenging time with property ownership. In some cases, people had difficulty selling their homes. In other cases, financing for young professionals has been difficult to attain. So we are specifically proposing what we refer to as a purpose-built multifamily project, high-quality luxury rental housing, highly amenitized, lots of conveniences for what we call the renter-by-choice lifestyle. We see primarily our resident profile as young professionals seeking proximity to employment and proximity to transportation. And as you can see, we've identified a couple of logical targets, employers in the immediate area, the North Suburban Office Corridor, Allstate, Walgreens, Estellas, Baxter, Caremark, Takeda. These are the professionals that previously have not had the type of purpose-built housing in Wheeling and have not necessarily been drawn to bring their disposable income to spend on goods and services within the community and support the efforts of the town center. We also see this as an ideal opportunity with the train station to attract young couples. One will be most likely working locally. The other one has a good opportunity to take advantage of the metro and commute downtown. Executive housing is another key focus that we have. Again, with just the abundance of employment, high quality, white-collar employment in the immediate area, it's a logical extension of the product that we're offering. And just to orient you very quickly on the plan itself, you'll see here this site includes 9 buildings, 288 luxury rental units in 3-story, 32-unit buildings. When we originally presented the concept plan, we were exclusively focused on 250 Northgate, which is the former Kenny headquarters. Since that time, and at the suggestion of both staff, Plan Commission, and the Board of Trustees, we approached the Northfield Presbyterian Church at 100 Northgate and were able to incorporate their 5-acre site in our overall plan. We really think that it makes sense in terms of a cohesive overall land planning effort. And as part of our zoning tonight, one of the requests is actually to rezone the church parcel to the MXT zoning, along with site plan approval. The project, and my partner Warren James will walk you through in more detail, but we can see here we've actually reduced the overall density, and we see this as the transitional medium density residential component that transitions into some higher density housing and mixed use plans for the town center project when you grow closer to the train station. But this plan, it does include 90 garages, 458 surface parking spaces for a ratio of 1.9 parking spaces. While it is very much a transit-oriented development, meeting the market need for both covered parking and surface parking is an important component to us to ultimately plan for a successful overall plan. I'm going to turn over to Warren to walk you through the architecture.
Thank you, Matt. Again, my name is Warren James, Riva Development Partners, and as Matt said, we're pleased to be back here. We've spent an extraordinary amount of time assessing the marketplace and developing this specific product to meet the market demand. It is a 3-story elevator-served building. From the prior plans that we presented to you to today, a great deal of effort has been undertaken to fully develop these plans. They represent hours and hours of consideration of the market to arrive at the appropriate balance. We did listen. We added 2 additional covered parking spaces to each building such that we have 10 individual garages in each building. And we believe that that best reflects the market demand, as each of those individual garages will be rented at an incremental cost to the base unit rental. Providing more than that would obviously increase the supply, decrease scarcity, and affect our ability to rent those at a dollar value that effectively covers the cost of construction. With respect to the materials and the design, the materials selected for this are consistent with the suburban character of the community that we're trying to create. It includes masonry and the use of cement fiber siding with an asphalt composite roof. These materials are the same materials that I've used in the construction of high-end multifamily housing and high-end single-family housing. In fact, some of the examples that we used to illustrate effective use of hardy siding were some from $1 million-plus homes that I constructed at Southgate on the Glen in Glenview as a part of the Glenview Naval Air Station. As Matt referenced, both of us have spent many years in the business. Myself in both the development and the construction side, and having experienced a variety of projects over decades, and having served continuously as a homeowners association president for a variety of associations for many, many years, I have seen how these communities stand up over time. Our choice of materials here is reflective of the enduring qualities of the masonry and the cement fiber siding. They do endure, they are very tasteful, and frankly, we chose them for their aesthetic characteristics as much as their low maintenance characteristics. The buildings, as you see, characterized by 10 garages on the front, center entry, that enters into a vestibule, elevator-served building. There are 6 units on the first floor, 4 of those on the corners, 8 units on the first floor, 4 of those on the corners, and 4 in the rear. There are 12 units on the second and third floors. All of them have balconies. All of them are served by individual HVAC units. The type of units that we've specified are Magic Pack, that is a conventional gas-fired furnace with a air conditioner compressor. They happen to be located in the perimeter of the building so that they can directly exhaust, yet you have individual control. We think that's a very important feature for our residents. The rear elevations, again, characterized similarly with the use of masonry and cement fiber siding, a variety of colors and textures, and we've also incorporated balconies on each of the individual units. Again, looking at the floor plan, just in general, you've got the 5 garages to the left, 5 garages to the right. There's an elevator in this location here, and there are 2 stairwells for emergency access that exit out the rear of the building on the left and right sides of the building. We've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how these buildings will function We don't want to see dumpsters, large dumpsters or compactors on site. Instead, we have provided for trash and recycling bins to be located on the first floor. Residents would be expected to carry their trash down into the trash room. We would service that 2 to 3 times a week. We don't want trash remaining in the building for any long period of time. That's why we've specifically designed it this way. The other life safety features have been incorporated, as well as storage on the second and third floors of the buildings, such that combined with the 10 garages, there will be an additional 22 storage lockers, so every resident in the building will have storage. The floor plans have been designed in such a way to address specific market needs. We have preponderance of one-bedroom plans, then up to a one-bedroom den, and finally 2 bedrooms. There are 10 two-bedroom plans in each of the buildings and 22 one-bedroom plans. The clubhouse will again address the lifestyle that our renters are seeking. It's going to provide them a meeting place. It's going to provide them recreational opportunities. It will also serve as our marketing center. While the design of the clubhouse has not been fully developed at this point in time for this specific site, we do intend to incorporate bicycle storage to meet the minimum requirement by code. Otherwise, the character of the clubhouse is as shown in these images. The features that we're including, again, a large meeting area, you've got restroom facilities, a media room, an exercise area here, an outdoor pool, and then this space is dedicated more for the leasing efforts and the manager's office and the maintenance office, and a one-stall garage for both maintenance and the golf cart. And then finally, in this appendage here, locker rooms that will be seasonally used when the pool is open. Would like to go back, address a couple of issues with the site plan. One of the comments that came up during the review was the need for fire lanes. We recognize the fire chief's interpretation of the code requiring a fire lane that bisects the property north-south. We have represented it graphically here. We would more fully detail that in our final plan. With respect to the landscaping, as I mentioned, I come from a background of doing high-end for-sale housing and mixed-use multifamily residential as well. The images that you see here are from communities that I personally completed. To the right is Waterbury Place in Buffalo Grove. That is just east of this same railroad track on the south side of Half Day Road. I invite you all to go out there, take a look. The same landscape architect that prepared the plans for this community prepared the plans for Waterbury Place, very similar in character. That's another view of the same pond. And the picture in the upper left is of Heatherfield and Glenview, also a mixed-use multifamily community that I developed in the late 1990s. Signage, general character of the signage is shown on this slide. They'd be more fully detailed for final approval. And at this point, we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
I'm going to start with, I'm going to keep it in order tonight.
Okay.
Start with Trustee Kruger, because I know we all have questions, and figure everybody's got their list. So we'll start with Trustee Kruger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi, how are you?
Well.
I'd like to address perhaps a couple of the conditions that are listed in the packet this evening. Number one, I don't have any issue with. Number two, if I may, that a 6-foot cedar board-on-board fence is added along the west property line and may be eliminated at the final PUD should the western area include adequate berming and evergreen planting. First question is, what is that for? Is that for sound or aesthetics or safety or a combination of those three?
Combination of all three.
Okay. Then I guess my next question would be about the type of fence, and I only say this because I see other uniform fencing in the village, namely along 83 and some along Dundee Road, which is not that I believe board on board, as it's more solid and a scallop look. I'm wondering why or if it's possible that that fence be sort of uniform and consistent with other interior fencing that's already in the village.
We'd be happy to take that advice.
And I guess the last item on this would be, I guess the option to eliminate it. I would ask, wouldn't it be best to have it? I'm thinking of this being a barrier on the west end of your property between the diversionary channel and train tracks. That I think a fence would be a more safe way to, sort of separate those danger areas or potential danger areas. So I'm kind of questioning the elimination of the fence.
There's some competing interests here. Certainly, we have to address the physical aspects of the site as we slope down to the diversion channel, or rather the diversion channel comes up to meet our property grade. We do need to contain the runoff within our site. Ideally, we'd have a berm that shields us, but with the constraints of the grading. Also, the Plan Commission expressed a desire to include a walking path along the western boundary. So we're trying to relook at all of those aspects and come back with a plan. If that plan has adequate landscape screening with the path and still meets our grading requirements, then we could eliminate the fence. In my view, I think that would be nice, because the minute you install a fence, it starts to deteriorate. The minute you install landscaping, it starts to grow. So long-term, I think we're better served by landscaping. Short-term, we're better served by fence. We remain very flexible and willing to work with the village to arrive at the best conclusion.
Good, thank you, Warren. I'm going to stop there, and only because I'll leave it open for other trustees to ask on this topic or move along in the conditions.
Thank you. Trustee Lang?
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate you incorporating the church grounds in there in phase 2 of the project. I think that'll really make a difference overall in that area of land. In respect to the garages, I know I viewed most of the Plan Commission meeting, and there was some discussion about garages, that perhaps there should be more garages. And I understand what you're doing is the buildings itself they contain as many garages as really you could put in there. Is there an opportunity, though, if those are very popular, is to perhaps do external garages, land bank area, like you would for parking, but do that for garages as well, external garages? If it really takes off, if people really want garages, you're going to make more money on them anyway, so it would make sense.
Sure. We looked at external garages initially before we decided to actually put them into the buildings. As Warren said, when we came to concept last year, we had 8 garages per building. So we looked at creating perhaps a buffer with the garages. And in our studies, and we went out to locally we have 5 competing projects that represent about 2,400 similar multifamily units. And the general consensus was that detached garages really don't command much value. Whereas the types of garages that we're talking about, they're individually assignable within a building, so you can pull into that garage and you can access directly into your building. That's kind of where the value is. Then it really boiled down to the ratio. Of those 2,400 units that we surveyed, that represents five properties, and the 2 of the properties offered covered garages, 3 of the properties did not offer covered garages. And the ratio across all 5 was 30%. So it actually worked out to be consistent with what we're proposing. But we really believe, our initial approach to the site was it is a transit-oriented site. We think people who are moving to this site, they see the value in being close to the train. Other communities might market themselves based on garage parking, but we believe that the ratio that we're proposing it will meet the needs of those people that want a garage, and they will be willing to pay for it. But it was, one of the many factors that we had to decide how, make a bigger clubhouse, add elevators, do stainless steel appliances and granite countertops, and that's kind of where we landed ultimately.
You lead me into the next question on the train, and I agree with you. It's going to be, there will be a lot of folks that will travel to the train from there. But unfortunately, the sidewalk situation is a problem right now, and we have to, access over that bridge. I think very few people are going to cross the road to go on, use the sidewalk, and then come back over and have to cross Northgate twice, and then cross Dundee Road to get to the train eventually. So we really do have to work something out between the village and yourselves to solve that problem. There are some options out there, we just have to look at them. Have you had thought of it anymore, or what was your plan for pedestrian traffic through there?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're all in favor of extending the sidewalk to the south along the west side of Northgate, but we don't control that property. So it's really up to the board to take action on that.
Right.
And if so, we would certainly seek the board's assistance with TIF funding for that improvement. But we do think that that would be a benefit to the community. That said, crossing the street to avail yourself of an existing sidewalk, I don't believe is that much of a hardship in the interim.
I don't think people will do it, though. I think they'll walk along the
They'll
road
walk
there.
along the grass.
Yeah.
And through the parkway.
Yep. And then lastly, I had, I know there was a lot of discussion on the amount of brick. And in looking at the elevations, I can understand the appearance of brick is not quite as much as what we expect on some of these, on some of the projects that have been built in Wheeling. And I know the hardy board is it's tremendous material. I just think the use of actual brick or the resemblance of more brick on the building fronts would go a long way. How would you plan to address that, to add more brick on it? And I'd like the board's feeling on that as well.
You want me to take that specifically?
Yeah. Yes.
As I mentioned, I think it's the use of brick, the inclusion of brick, is, in my opinion, subjective as to the aesthetic impact. There is no denying that brick doesn't burn and that brick requires less maintenance than other materials, and I think that that is a plus. We tried to balance the use of brick and the use of the cement fiber siding to achieve an aesthetic design that we're quite comfortable with. The product, I don't think it's any surprise, the product that we developed for this site, including the character of the elevations and the use of materials, is consistent with what we intend to build in Vernon Hills in a project that is just now underway. So again, the character of the community, we're trying to keep it residential in nature. We're trying to make it less institutional. We think the combination of materials is appropriate. We'd obviously entertain the board's advice and act on that accordingly.
Okay. And if we get a chance throughout, can we just have a quick poll or idea of what the rest of the board feels with brick? Mr. President?
Well, the question I have is, what are we using percentages here, or what are you looking for?
Well, if you look at
Entire building to be
percentages, the petitioner meets the, if you count the hardy board as masonry material, which I think you've already proven that that's masonry material, then they meet all percentages that they need to meet of it. It's just the appearance of brick, the actual brick. And if we want to get into that.
Let's get comment from everybody else, and then we'll go back to that, if that's okay?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Trustee here?
Thank you. The question about the garages as well as the sidewalk has been addressed. Thank you. I've been up, I've seen the Waterbury project in Buffalo Grove, and this is an unsolicited endorsement. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
And I just hope that you could bring that same type of a project here to Wheeling. This is not really your concern, but we as a village, as well as the other municipalities along the rail line, have to increase rail traffic. Because otherwise, why would people want to come to these rental apartments when there's no weekend service and there's limited weekday service? So those are some of the issues that we, as a board, as long as with the Northwest Municipal Conference, have to deal with. You said you've done your studies on this demographically. How do we stand with rental property right over here, where you're proposing it? How, you're going to be able to sell them all out? Will you be able to do both phases?
Yes, so we have looked at a variety of sources. I mean, we've got a consultant called Appraisal Research Counselors, who puts out a quarterly report tracking all the suburban multifamily units over, all the projects over 50 units. So we have great quarter-to-quarter data, supporting specifically where we've projected rents and absorption. And the Northwest Cook County market has basically performed as the second best across all submarkets, with the exception of the North Shore market, a very small market that has virtually no new supply. That occupancies are running at about 95, 96%, which generally is the level at which new development is justified. That 5% factor is really just reflective of move-outs. So we have great confidence in the market. Now, there are recently, because of the lifestyle factor that we've talked about, that there are a number of municipalities that are currently entertaining multifamily rental housing in their communities, Deerfield, Glenview, and Northbrook. All of those communities have projects that will be competitors to ours, and they're targeting the same kind of renter by choice residents that are really looking for convenient access to work. The young professionals working at the pharma companies, Allstate, Takeda, et cetera. And the difference that we're offering here and our competitive advantage is twofold. First of all, we have the only transit-oriented development. So while we recognize that the service isn't where Metro would like it to be ultimately, especially with respect to weekend service, we are able to offer something that the other competitors in Deerfield, Northbrook, and Glenview can't. And then secondly, we're building a product, a three-story, what we call a medium density product, that has the right balance of garage parking, but it matches all the amenities, and it's built in this three-story idiom where we can build it at a much more competitive price. So all those factors together, the general kind of aggregate market strength and our ability to deliver a product and to deliver value, relative to some of these competitors. Now, that's the new product. The old product, one of our competitors is a project built by my former company, the Greens at Chevy Chase, which is just a little over a mile north of our site, 572 units built starting in kind of 1987. So that's a project that's going on 25 years old. No garages, 8-foot ceilings. It was a very nice project. It's always been one of the leaders from occupancy standpoint in the submarket. We're basically introducing the next generation of that housing serving that market. And we really feel that we'll do well.
Again, I used to work for Buffalo Grove Police Department, and I've also been in that development as well, and you're absolutely correct. It's immaculate for the most part, and it's very well managed. You're going to have the similar type of property management team on this one, that they really do a nice job overseeing that project.
You're exactly right. The key to these purpose-built rental communities is they have to be ultimately quality construction. They have to be designed to meet the market. They have to have all the amenities, but not the least of which is to have full-time on-site professional management. It's the lifestyle that you're creating. The reason that people aren't going to look on Craigslist and rent someone's condo that they couldn't sell is really that management component, that they know that their property will be well maintained. They know they have someone to call, to rely on. They know that there really is a management effort to create an environment through activities and things like that that just makes it a special place. So that's, we will self-manage the property. We'll have a an institutional equity partner. This is a major investment, so, the intent is for that type of management.
If you can produce what you produced up there, I think it's going to be a win-win. I think all of us are, at least I know for myself, you're kind of gun shy because this is a large project that's going in, and if it doesn't go in the right way, then we're trying to spruce up the community. We don't want to bring the community down.
Well, ironically, it's scale that helps to ensure the success, because to have the right scale that you can support a full-time management staff, to have the right scale that you can really build the 7,000 square foot amenity center and swimming pool, and ultimately to have the right scale that you can have an institutional financial partner that really sees this as a long-term investment, just like a Class A office building or a Class A retail center.
Thank you. That's all I have for right now.
Thank you. Trustee Vogel?
Just a couple of questions. One, a walking path was mentioned. I'm sure you've heard in the news about the walking paths over in Arlington Heights and the problems they've had over there with safety. Do you envision this going in and being strictly walking or biking and walking, and are you prepared to address the safety issues with putting something like that in? Have you experienced?
There was some conversation regarding the walking path at the Plan Commission level. As shown on this plan, we have 3 entrances to the community on North Gate. We are buffered on the south, the west, and the north sides by the creek or the diversion channel.
Right.
So there is a natural border, if you will. There was some consideration to placing a bridge here. We feel that it is most appropriate to keep the southwest and north side secure. Thus, anybody entering or exiting the property would come through one of the primary entrances or off the public sidewalk along North Gate. Otherwise, the walking paths are self-contained.
Okay. All right, the other question is the rail service. As you know, we do not have, I'll just call it complete rail service. Have you experienced you're building these buildings or going into these areas before and attempting to start a development like this without the rail service completely in place? And did the rail service, was it easy to convince Metra to follow with the rail service? Or did you do any upfront work with Metra? Or can you give us any suggestions? I know we're working on it, getting more stops, et cetera. Have you guys got involved in that in any way, shape, or form? I mean, it's to your benefit. The more stops we have, the easier it's going to do to sell these units and to rent them out.
Sure.
So, go ahead.
That's a couple questions. I guess, by and large, these typically are in developments that do have convenient rail service. So the rail service is just a plus. I mean, this is a standalone community that is competing against all those projects I mentioned and will, be very competitive independent of the rail service. The rail service is really the bonus. I'm on a panel with the Urban Land Institute that operates in partnership with the RTA. And I have pretty regular discussions with the RTA, a couple of the business people, and how they track ridership, on the underserved lines. And it's always kind of a chicken or an egg, because the RTA is currently actively funding studies in various municipalities to do the TOD transit-oriented plan in hopes that will bring more people so they can increase their ridership and increase the service. So it's kind of it's a little bit, when you build it, they will come. The reality is, if we do have an opportunity to build this, it's exactly what the RTA is looking for in terms of being able to support, additional service.
So in your experience, you've seen the service follow the development in some cases?
Yes, this is a newer line. I know Warren has an example of a mixed-use development they did in downtown Park Ridge. The service was there. That's what attracted
Right.
the residential, but I think...
Well, that's our biggest concern is we don't have the service there, but you said up front, and you've said several times, that you're kind of marketing it toward the commuter-type resident, and therefore parking variations and less parking spaces than required. And if it doesn't follow, or if we don't have something in place, then are we going to end up coming up short on parking again? I mean, if the train service is not there and the commuters are not buying these units or renting these units, then they're driving.
We did an independent study after the concept plan that looked at, independent of transit-oriented metro service. It surveyed about a half a dozen existing rental communities in the area that were all, running at kind of the mid-90s occupancy and what their parking ratios were. And they ranged from about 1.6 to about 2.1, thereabouts. So on average, it was in the 1.7, 1.8 range. For the most part, those communities also had a mix that was higher on the two-bedroom units. And I think the average was somewhere in the 45% two-bedrooms, 55% one-bedrooms. Our project is almost 70% one-bedrooms, 30% two-bedrooms. So the fact that we've got significantly more one-bedrooms, fewer two-bedrooms, in conjunction with the Metra, we're very comfortable with the 1.9 ratio that we're providing.
Let me also add that the discussion was regarding the covered parking. I understand that this body has considered a revision to the ordinance that is working its way through. At 1.9 spaces per unit, we are in conformance with the proposed new ordinance. And that's despite the preponderance of one-bedroom plans. So at 1.9, we think we're more than adequately parked for this type of product and in conformance with the proposed code.
That new ordinance hasn't been approved yet.
Right, right,
So-
understood.
Okay. Thank you.
Trustee Brady?
Thank you. First of all, I'm very pleased to hear that you fellows were involved in that rental project just north of the golf course. Two of my daughters lived there periodically from time to time. It is beautiful and well-maintained, and I'm glad to see we have that quality coming here. I'm sure you'll do the same here. I'm assuming after we get done with all the zoning and everything else, this will be one lot of record, both parcels.
Yes.
Okay. And in staff's report of recommendations, it mentioned that all buildings shall remain under one owner. How will that be achieved by the special use PUD, or what, that we mean the buildings can't be spun off individually?
The special use the PUD will be granted to the petitioner, which will be a single corporate entity. If they tried to split the lots, such as by selling one of them, the PUD would only run completely if both lots were transferred by one entity to another entity as a whole.
Well, it will be one lot, but I mean, in the future, say these fellows move on and somebody else takes over the project and wants to just sell the buildings off individually, we want to prevent that.
That's right. The PUD requires that the property be operated singly with the number of buildings allowed per the plans.
That'll be a
if they
condition.
wanted to subdivide the lot, they would need to come in for zoning approval, because otherwise that would be a violation of the PUD.
Okay.
That may be granted here.
That's all that. I've been kicking this masonry thing around back and forth, talking to everybody, and I was the instigator of going with all brick, and not so much for aesthetics. Being a carpenter, brick to me isn't the most prettiest thing in the world, but certainly it's the most durable. And when you're building a building that might be standing there for maybe 80, 100 years, you don't want a lot of year-to-year maintenance problems, and that's where brick comes in, head and shoulders above everything else. And that's why we as a village were pushing for more brick. This is a new product, this cementous board, and I assume it's durable, except it could be susceptible to breakage if something heavy thrown at it. And it has to be painted periodically. But I guess the building looks nice the way you've got it designed, and I'd like to see more brick on the first floor, at least a little bit higher than it is, to prevent kids throwing balls and maybe cracking this stuff. It's possible it can happen with a league ball. And maybe you want to take a look at that sometime during your final details with your architect. And also, I'd like to, if at all possible, this being mentioned in code relief, that this is against what our code says about the percentage, so that we're not just throwing the code out the window, we're just giving you more or less a special dispensation for less brick than our code says. Thirdly, what's the structure type? Is this a concrete, wood framing, or?
This is frame construction. Okay. Each of the assemblies would be UL rated to meet code requirements.
Okay, that's why it's even more important we have that road. The chief explained to me, it says concrete precast and et cetera, you can probably get away with some of that kind of stuff, but he has to get his fire trucks around in a hurry. Even with a wood structure that meets all codes, it's important.
I should hasten to add that they are all fully sprinklered structures.
Good. Yes, that I assumed right away. Okay, hang on a minute. You're going to do this in 2 phases. What's going to spark the second phase?
Logistically, the only reason why we showed this as 2 phases is because the church has to find a new home. So depending upon their timing, that would dictate our timing. We've structured the site plan in such a way, and we'll do so with the final engineering, so that we can construct the northern half, and when the church moves, move quickly to the southern portion as well.
Good idea. Okay. Yes. And with that, yeah, I too am in favor of that sidewalk going from your property to Dundee Road, and I'm sure that we'd be willing to help you along with TIF money. It'd be a lot cheaper for your contractor to do it while he's there than us coming in at a later date to put it in. So I am in agreement with extending that sidewalk. You mentioned in your presentation to the Plan Commission about lighting, exterior lighting. If you could please try to minimize or omit your wall packs. All they do is glare. You know, I would rather you add a couple more pole lights. You can put your lights above the entryways, obviously, but those wall packs, yeah, they'll light up the parking lot real nice from the building, but you'll be glaring through everybody's windows, and that's something that I think our code says that we really don't want to see a light bulb glaring.
Understood and agreed. There's some great new lighting products out there with the advancement of LEDs, so we've identified some wall pack units that are LED, that are shoebox type, that can direct the light without seeing the source of the light. But again, we've positioned them on the buildings only in locations where they wouldn't compromise our residents on the inside or adjacent. So, but I am in agreement with the first principle, minimize the use of wall packs.
Good. And then along a little different line, I don't know what our code says about satellite dishes. I mean, I would assume that each building will have a centralized cable system with an agreement that you would feed all the apartments, and some tenant might want to go out and get his own satellite and bolt it to his railing or something. And I would hope that your landlord tenant agreement would not allow that.
We cannot prohibit, by FCC law, we can't prohibit the installation, but what we can do is make reasonable accommodations. So we absolutely will design the buildings to minimize the need for supplemental satellite dishes, so that they can tap in, choose their service provider, be it AT&T, Comcast, Dish, or DirecTV, what have you, without having them to install satellite dishes everywhere.
Yeah, you go into some, especially in the city of Chicago, you go by some of these apartment buildings, and the whole wall is lined with dozens of them outside the window. Doesn't our code address that? I know at one time we talked about satellite dishes, that they had to be in a certain spot, maybe up on a roof or something of the sort.
Trustee Brady, the federal government has responded to the satellite lobby and passed laws which make it very difficult for the village to regulate the placement of satellite dishes. So the village and the private parties as well are limited in the ways that they can control those dishes, though it sounds like they're planning on making accommodations to keep the aesthetics of the building as clean as possible.
Plus, it's their, you know, the people are renting the inside of the apartment. They start bolting stuff to the outside. I'm sure the landlord has a little say-so in that also.
To a very limited extent, yes.
You have an interior trash room, great. Please air condition it, because, just venting it, you'll get, in hot days, and that room ain't conditioned, that garbage will get very stinky. And if it's cool, it'll stay nice and nobody will smell it. It's not a big deal, but I think it's important. Let's see. On your elevations, your gable ends, you put roof shingles. I don't know if that's such a aesthetically pleasing look. I think you're going to see the bungalows in the city of Chicago, all the little gable ends got shingles in them. And there's so many products out there that don't need any maintenance, that would be a little different than your horizontal lap siding that you could put up there, that would give it a little bit, more of a classier detail. I would certainly like to see those gables, something else other than shingles.
In fact, the sample board that I'm pointing to demonstrates the lap side, the brick, the lap siding, and the shingle. The lap and the shingle are, and the trim board above it are all cement fiber. So we've got a different look, but the material is all the same. They're all cement fiber.
Okay, because in one of your notes, it sounded like it was your regular just asphalt.
Yeah, it's designed to look like a cedar shake.
Okay.
But the material itself is cement fiber.
Have you sent a range on your rentals yet?
Yes, so we're anticipating the smallest apartment starting at about $1,250 a month up to about $2,000 a month for the two-bedroom, plus a garage.
Keeping with the area, good. And I was going to comment on the garages back some time ago, but in the fact of the matter is, looking at the amount of properties around here that have indoor parking and don't have indoor parking, there's very few that do have indoor parking. We have I think 2 or 3 here in town, but the rest of them don't. And I think we're probably doing the right thing. I don't want to hamper the development of this project. I certainly don't want to see us lack parking, but in light of our new ordinance, which we're probably going to be working on pretty soon, I think we're well within the range that should cover this. Other than that, I have no other questions. Oh, well, excuse me, one more. I do have. Private streets. Are you going to be private? Are we going to own these streets? The code says
it's our intent that these would be private streets built to public standards.
Right. I thought somewhere's in a PUD that says there's no private streets allowed.
No, I think you got to flip-flop. We want private streets. We don't need more public streets for us to maintain.
I don't disagree with you. I just what I read in the PUD.
Don't give him the idea. Tony will go nuts.
All right. Thank you.
Trustee Hein.
Thank you. This is a very interesting project, and I like your concept. I like the point where you're going with the people that are going to be here. I think there's a market for that type of use. I have a couple of concerns about just the layout in conjunction with active transportation plan. A few months ago, the Village of Wheeling adopted an active transportation plan where it involved bikes and walking. And as you know, you have a very large piece of property here that's actually in an industrial park, or leads to an industrial park, and you have major trucks coming down Northgate Parkway to Lake Cook Road and Dundee Road. And I kept looking at your plan and wondering how we were going to get this active transportation plan into effect with all that happening. And lo and behold, here you come with your wonderful plan. So I would just like to interject a little bit of the active transportation plan into your plan, and putting in or making available either by easement to the Village of Wheeling, and using the west border of the railroad tracks and putting in a bike walking path. And so we can pick it up and extend it down to Dundee Road and then ultimately connect it to the Park District. The Park District has a very large area over there, and they have bike paths and have walking paths and so on and so forth. And I know that you are putting all the amenities in so that they can do exercising, swimming, and so on and so forth. But I know people that have bikes and are runners, okay, are going to get tired of that path. And they're going to want to get out of there, okay? And I want to give them a way out of there. And too many times in the past in the village of Wheeling, we haven't planned for that. And so we have this new active transportation plan, and I want you to be a part of that. And I want you to relook at your site plan and to see if you can squeeze us in on your western boundary over there by the railroad tracks, all the way as far as you can to the north and all the way to the south, to put in a bike path in accordance to the active transportation plan.
We did study this carefully. I do want to make sure that I clarify that we are bounded, our property is bounded on the north, west, and south by the creek or diversion channel.
I understand.
We don't abut the tracks.
I understand. And there have to be things done to that creek and that channel, okay? A bike can go over a channel with a bridge.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
I understand. I understand completely. And, but I want you to take a look at it to see if you can help us out a little bit with that, okay?
Okay.
And as far as the aesthetics of the buildings, there are an awful lot of new products today that take the place of some old products, but you know, some of those old products like brick are still a standard, and the Village of Wheeling has taken that standard, and we've made brick a standard in this community with most of our multi-units that have come in the last 10 or 12 years. I would like to see you use more brick, okay? Especially on the front elevation, okay? The rest of them, I can live with a lesser amount of brick, but I would like brick on the front elevation, okay? Also, I want to make sure that you comply with our standards in flood control. That particular area over there has been vacant for a long time, and we need to make sure that you're going to be holding the water you're supposed to be holding. And are you aware of the new draft that's coming out and the new rules and regulations by the NWRD? It's in draft stage now, and they're having public hearings, and they're tightening up their retention requirements and their detention requirements and sewer requirements. I just want you to look at it to see how close you come to those new things that are going to be happening, okay? And I think they're going to happen. I got a question of staff in the 100-year storm that we had. I guess they're qualified to be a 100-year storm this last year. How did that property over there hold up as far as with the bypass channel and everything?
The diversion channel was there was two major storms we had. One was in April and one was in May. The one in April, the diversionary channel did not fill up. Other parts of our village had more water, southern parts, and the Des Plaines River. In the second storm, the diversionary channel did fill to a large extent, and this property had some water on it. So your request that they meet all of our standards, there's no question that they will. We have a requirement for 1.5 to 1 for compensatory storage, so we'll make sure that they do. But the property did have some water on it at the end, particularly in the second storm.
Okay, thank you. Also, I saw in your plan that you were going to be storing some bikes underneath the stairway. Is that correct? Am I right in assuming that?
We're actually
We asked for some bike racks or something like that, and
We're actually looking to store bikes in the garages and then make accommodations in the clubhouse for additional storage to meet the code requirement. I don't
It
think we're
did
necessarily.
state that in the initial discussion, and we've departed from that.
okay, okay. That's very important, that you have good safety and make sure that nobody takes a walk with them, okay? Because we have that problem in the complex I live in, where bikes are always leaving the premises all the time, okay? Other than that, staff, I want to make sure that they comply with all our rules and regulations, storage, compensatory storage, flood control, and all that good stuff, because that's absolutely crucial. But the most important thing is the bike path. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you heard brick. What's your thoughts on that? And where would you add more brick? I've heard first floor elevation, the front elevation. Let's go back to that picture and show us where your brick is now and how much more can we add here.
You can see generally we're keeping it around the first floor elevation, jumps up to the second floor here, and it's just below the top of the garage elevation here, first floor, again back down. We're trying to vary the height around the building. And then on the sides, you can see it's half height around the side, jumping that particular projecting element back up to the first floor height. And then to the rear, again, we follow that theme going up two-story elements back down to half-story. If we were to increase the brick, I'd suggest that it would make sense to do it at natural breaks, be it along the first floor. I do still like these areas that jump up to the second floor. Again, we could increase it to the first floor windowsill height here. Similarly, along the side, let me go back to the front elevation, and potentially bring it up over this garage, these garages here. We do want. I don't like to transition brick on an outside corner. I much prefer to see the brick height changes go on an inside corner. So that's what I'd be looking to make those transitions, and to do them at logical places, at a windowsill height or some other break where it makes sense to have a limestone sill to adjust the thickness difference between the brick and the siding material. Okay. So if you give us the opportunity to study that, we come back to you with a specific detail.
Trustee Lang, are we okay with that?
Yeah, if you raise it up to even the second floor windows, that would be fine. I mean, it's nothing that we haven't asked any of the other developments in town to look at. Trustee Hein hit it on the head. He said that we really have asked for brick quite a bit, and I think the developments really look good, and I think this will still it looks great now. It's going to look even better and have an appearance, a long-standing appearance of looking even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Brady, is that okay?
Fine.
Trustee Kruger?
I'm good with that.
Trustee Vogel?
Good.
Trustee Hein?
Yep.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
And myself as well. Thank you. Any other comments from anybody? Staff have anything to say? Thank you. So ordinance number 1, granting a rezoning for I-3 General Industrial District to MXT, transit-oriented mixed-use district for 100 Northgate Parkway, docket number 2013-12A. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Brady, second by Trustee Vogel. Roll call. This is on the rezoning.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Yes. An ordinance granting preliminary plan unit development, special use site plan appearance approval for Northgate Crossing Plan Unit Development 100-250 Northgate Parkway, docket number 2013-12B. Mr. Sfondilis, there were some notes taken on this, and I think you have a question as well. You want to just add, just for the record, before we make a motion to approve?
There were a lot of notes. I think the one that stands out the most was the improvement of the bricks.
Okay.
But we can work with the
wall pack
developer
stuff, all that stuff you have.
on the long list of other items.
And you want to add something to it?
Yeah, we do have, there is one condition, number 8, under section E. The petitioner will increase the ratio of covered parking. We would ask that that be stricken.
Board? Trustee Lang?
I'm fine with that.
Trustee Vogel?
I'm fine.
Trustee Hein?
Fine.
Trustee Brady?
No.
Trustee Kruger?
Agreed.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Entertain a motion?
So move.
Motion by Trustee Lang, second by Trustee was it Hare or Brady? I'm sorry.
It was me.
Trustee Hare, roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris?
Yes. Gentlemen, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
13G.
Ordinance granting special use approval for a restaurant within Creekside Plaza Shopping Center, 294 McHenry Road, docket number 2013-13.
Thank you. Mr. Janik?
Thank you. This is a request for a special use approval of a ice cream parlor at the far west unit at Creekside Plaza. This is the unit that is directly adjacent to Elmhurst Road. At one time, it was a White Hen Pantry, and it's gone through numerous other uses.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening?
The petitioner had an issue this evening getting here, I believe. So they are not here to answer any questions.
Not the petitioner here, our normal.
Then maybe they can get here on the 26th and entertain a motion to table it.
I'll entertain that.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Hare, second by Trustee Vogel. Roll call.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris?
Yes, thank you. 12H, we have discussion.
Regarding concept review of proposed tavern at Prairie Crossing, 701-749 Milwaukee Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Svandelos?
Thank you. I am happy to bring this discussion to the board this evening, as it seems there's been some interest in some of the outlots in front of the Weston development. Specifically tonight, we will be discussing the beer house, and I'm going to turn this over to Director Malanaphy. The reason that this is coming before you as a discussion is because, as you know, part of the agreement when the Weston was built had a fairly lengthy prohibited use list. Among those uses that were prohibited is that of a tavern, which the beer house does qualify as technically. However, I think when you hear the description of the facility, you'll understand that this is a pretty unique business and has proven to be quite a successful business in the two other locations that they have. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Malanaphy to fill in the blanks.
Thank you very much, Manager Svandelos. We received a request from the Beer House for a preliminary concept review. We've been working with the new investors that are looking at purchasing the outlots of the Weston Hotel, and they've been very aggressively marketing the space to new tenants. They met with us, talked about some of the objectives they have, and we met with Joe Romeo, who's in the audience tonight, the operator. They have two of these operations. One of them is in Vernon Hills and another one in Lombard. It's about 3,600 square feet. It's a English gastro pub. They have live entertainment. They serve about 500 different bottles of beer and 60 taps. They also have 8 different high-end specialty wines. So the thing is that this space has been vacant since it was built, for the most part, even during the height of the economy when vacancy rates were at historic lows. The space did not lease, and so we wanted the operator to come in before the village board and discuss this concept because it is at the gateway to the Weston Hotel.
Can you talk a little about the concept itself so everyone understands what it is we're talking about?
Sure. The concept will provide live entertainment, craft beer, specialty wines with a take-in menu that will help to generate customers to the facility, but they will have carryout menus where they can support some of the other restaurants nearby. So it has a generative attraction and would assist with the hotel and be complementary to the existing restaurants around the West End. They have about 20 to 25 employees. They also have a corporate room, private room, where they set up 6 taps and so forth. And it's really a pretty nice operation. I've been to the one in Vernon Hills. I have yet to visit the operation in Lombard, but I'm really enamored with the concept.
Questions?
No, all I will say, Mr. President, is I've only heard great things about this concept. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Can I interject, just to be clear so that everyone knows, what we're asking is, would you consider allowing this use at this site, which currently is on the prohibited use? So just so you know what question you're answering, that's tonight, because there are a lot of details that still need to be worked out, but that's the question that's before you this evening.
If I may, I went and I visited the one in Lombard last week. And Lombard at Yorktown, there's a lot of restaurants there, ton of restaurants, and this place was hopping. They had good, like the folksy music kind of thing, entertainment going on there. The place was packed. People had literally food from all types of different restaurants from that area there, whether it had been Italian or sushi or something else, enjoying themselves. They had outdoor seating, and I thought, wow, this place is busy. And I'm sure the restaurants around it loved it because they were eating their food. They brought their own food. The opposite of BYOB, it's BAYOF. You know, so I mean, it was a really neat concept, and I thought, wow, some entertainment that I think we've starved for a long time in this community, at a late, later at night, that people will stay because of the entertainment, because of the social atmosphere around it. So I was impressed with the operation, as what I saw last week, one night when I went by there. But anyway, I'll open it up for discussion. Trustee Brady, any comments?
Sounds interesting. Looking back years ago, the bars really never served food. It was just at a bar. This is kind of going back to that a little bit. Will they have anything there, pretzels or popcorn or something?
I didn't see that. I'm sorry. Why don't you come up and introduce yourselves? Come on up, fellas. I didn't know you were there. I'm sorry.
But yes, we'll have peanuts, pretzels, absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta have that when you're drinking beer. And so you say that you will have menus from surrounding restaurants and pizza places that they could deliver there?
Yeah, the way it works is that we'll have menus at the tables, and then the patrons can choose to order from all the surrounding restaurants. The restaurants we collaborate with, so they actually know the station where the customer's sitting. They come right to the station, deliver the food, and that's it. We also actually encourage our customers to bring in their own food. So you could bring in a sandwich you made at home and enjoy the game and enjoy some music.
Can I ask what prompted you to go with this type of venue without food? I mean, because that could be a double barrel, success.
The craft industry, the specialties and beers right now is just great. I mean, there's a following. There's like a whole, like the loyalty program. I mean, the kitchen, there's no reason for it. I mean, it entertains the area. That's what we want. And when we say entertainment, there is no rap. There is no...
no, it was nice music.
None of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just live entertainment.
Very good.
Acoustical.
Well done, music that's, tasteful.
Very good. Yeah, I'd entertain taking a real close look at this.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Trustee Kruger?
I like the idea a lot. I like the idea of bringing in foods from certainly, you're right on Restaurant Row, so that's win-win. It's kind of like takeout taxi that I use in the corporate world, and bring really good food in for, business lunches. Beats the heck out of the company cafeteria. So I love the idea. So
thank you.
Anything else, Trustee Gare?
I was going to say, it's a win-win. I mean, it'll be an asset to the community, and I think as well as to the hotel clientele. So, yeah, I would like to explore it.
Trustee Hein?
I'm sure that you looked around the area before you made a decision to come this way. Have you looked at some of the restaurants, or have you asked some of the restaurants in the area? And who have you asked if they're going to be supplying you this service?
We usually go after the smaller restaurants. You know, the bigger ones don't really entertain it, but more of your smaller ones. And no, I haven't went around, but I've been to Cooper's Hawk. I've been to Twin Peaks. I've been around the area, and actually for 3 years I've been trying to get in that location. Before it was bank owned, and they would not budge. It was just horrible to deal with them. And so we would love to just talk to certain people around the area, absolutely.
I'm just curious to see who's going to want to do that, and if you're going to have to go further north or further east or further west to do that. So it'd be an interesting concept. I think I'm all in favor of trying it.
Thank you. Trustee Vogel?
Only 500 beers?
A lot more, we can make it more.
All right. No, I like it. I think it's a great concept, and I think you'll get the restaurants to go in on it too with you.
Thank you. Trustee Lang?
I'm looking forward to it. Start soon.
And myself, so it looks like it's unanimous here, fellas, so good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have our direction. Thank you.
And when Jimmy John shows up, huh?
The Subway, huh? 13I.
Sidewalk policy update.
Mr. Janik.
Thank you. This is a revised sidewalk proposal for the board to consider. Last time we came to you, we provided options that included all the different sidewalk priority types. We've reduced that to just the high priority sidewalk locations. And what we've done is we've reworked the number. It's the same concept as we had previously. It would be a flat increase to building permits to pay for this program. It would include 2.8 miles of high priority sidewalks. The cost is approximately $1 million, $959,000. We have a 7-year proposed a time period to get these done. And we're hoping that this idea, it's a slightly reduced amount attached to the building permit, and we've reduced the number of years that it would be done. So we're hoping that the board takes a look at this and agrees.
Manager Svandelis.
Thank you. I'd like to add a couple of things. Since our last discussion, we did do some research as to what other communities are doing. That was one of the questions that the board had asked. And it's a difficult question to answer because sidewalks are treated pretty universally with our neighboring communities as just another asset as part of the CIP, streets, water, sewer, street lights and all that. So it's lumped in. There really aren't any communities that segregate out sidewalks in order to have a specific program, which is why we think this is unique. The board has asked us, look, if you're going to ask for more money, tell us what we're getting, how long it's going to take to accomplish that goal, and how much it's going to cost. So we thought that this presentation was really creating a nice, neat little box in order to show the public exactly what they're getting for the increase that's recommended. Since the last time that this was presented, as Director Janik said, we removed what I think was a little bit too much of a lofty goal. As Mark said, this is really focusing on the high priority areas. Well, those high priority areas were identified through the active transportation plan, through surveys, through a number of expert opinions that created this gap analysis in order to say, all right, where are the high priority areas that don't necessarily deal with, last time we talked about PUDs and what about internal to subdivisions. This removes all that and focuses specifically on that gap analysis. Further, this 7-year program, obviously the time allocated to the program is based on the amount of money that we expect to take in every year. So if the increase is higher, the timeline decreases and vice versa. Obviously, what is considered a high priority area can be reassessed either on an annual basis or at the end of the 7-year program for what happens next. So this is a work in progress, but we wanted to give the board something that made sense, that you can say, here it is, and this is what we're accomplishing. So I just wanted to point out some of those things that are a little different from the last time this was presented, as well as the number did go down to, as you see on the screen, to 0.3%. We've also done a Northwest Municipal Conference survey in order to try to compare apples to apples when it comes to permit fees as to where the Village of Wheeling is compared to our neighboring communities. And we have found that even with this increase, the Village of Wheeling is still at or just below average for permit fees. So with that, we will open it up for discussion.
Trustee Hein. Thank you. I see that we can use motor fuel tax as part of the program, and we can also use TIF funds. So, also on the summary of the priority sidewalk segment, maybe I need bifocals or trifocals, but I don't see Dundee Road on here. We got some missing sidewalks out here all along the area, but
that's already being worked on.
So it's not a part of this list?
Correct.
Okay. It's going to be completed?
It's also anticipated that, well, portions of it are already being worked on. The remaining portions are also part of what we expect to be future developments. So the idea of this program isn't to replace what developers should do as part of their new projects, but instead to finish what should be the village's responsibility of connecting projects to projects.
Well, because of the economy and some of these spots along Dundee Road, they've been rezoned and given permission to build shopping centers and everything else, and nothing is happening, and new signs are up saying for sale again. I think it's absolutely imperative that we get Dundee Road onto this list as a priority item, and if the Village of Wheeling has to do it, okay, it may be allocated to a developer right now, but I think it should be on this list.
And I think that's a great point, and to the bigger point, at least as far as tonight goes, I think what makes sense is and I hear you, I'm not changing the subject, but I think we should talk about the policy itself, and then we can talk about the specifics of exactly where the high priorities are, because we could always change that. So I don't want you to feel that if you say yes to
all we have to do is add it to it and change the numbers.
I completely agree. I just don't want to get caught up in the minutia of the list versus the idea of creating a policy. But I completely agree with you.
I'm all for adding it to the list.
Okay. What about policy? Do you have any comments regarding the policy of what the proposal is?
Nope, it's fine.
Trustee Lang?
Yeah, good as proposed.
Trustee Vogel?
Good as proposed.
Trustee Brady?
Good as proposed, but just a comment. We're going to be collecting this money, and is it going right into the CIP, this percentage, for a specific sidewalk fund? You know, that was all supposed to be part of this project. Where we're going to be putting money that even we collect from developers that don't put sidewalks in, and how much we're going to collect, and that goes into a capital improvement sidewalk.
Yes, that money will be, I mean, again, general fund is general fund money, but yes, there will be a line item that is specified for sidewalks.
Okay.
Trustee Kruger?
I'm fine with it as proposed, as long as our fees are still competitive with other communities, and it looks like even with the addition, we're still in good shape.
Trustee Hare?
I'm okay with it.
You're not going to lose me.
Boy, that's a first. I'm going to question a couple of things on it. And I thank staff for doing the time and the work on this thing, but my opinion is to have everybody across the board, whether it be an individual that builds a garage, a resident, who applies for a building permit, to pay into a sidewalk fund who has existing sidewalks in their subdivision, to me is unfair. Okay? I believe the sidewalk fund itself was this fund that I've heard for all our lives, and if Terry Stein was here, probably 2 of his lives, that existed, didn't exist, was there, wasn't there, what have you. I believe that a sidewalk is a capital improvement project. I believe when this board, not long ago, a few months ago, maxed out the utility user tax, which is to fund capital improvements, and we're increased the revenue source for capital improvements to this community, probably close to $1 million a year as an increase. And now to hit everybody that applies for a building permit, a fee to pay for a sidewalk that they already have, is to me unfair. Now, that being said, I think my opinion at budget time that we should find a way, keep the priority list, I'm all for it. And we can add some things like Mr. Hine had said to add to it, like Dundee Road, to clarify. I'm all for that. But the way we fund this thing, I think we need to clarify it a little bit clearer. What I mean by this, in your capital CIP plan, with the dollars that are coming in, with the projected projects, there should be a line item in there for sidewalks. Whether it be 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, what have you. If an existing business that comes in here for tax relief regarding a 6B tax, the 6B bonds that we do for these, to encourage development to come in here, they're coming in here with a major plan for renovation. There I could see tacking on the 0.30 increase to the permitting fee. For somebody who's building new that isn't required to put a sidewalk, and we've seen that at Chicago Executive Airport, new hangars, new things like that, that you'll never see a sidewalk, there I can see a fee. If you see a major increase, whether it be a residential area of $10,000 or more, maybe, yeah, maybe you too put the increase in permitting fees. I've heard all along here that our permitting fees are probably the lowest around here. But come budget time, if we need to get to an average level, and we as a board kept it down to be that way because of the economics, and we try to spearhead renovations, development in this community in the last 3-4 years, if we need to get caught up, that's going to come up at budget time as a revenue source for the general fund, not for sidewalks. I mean, this is a labor-intensive process regarding issuing permits in this community. We all know that. And that cost isn't going down. So I just want to bring that out there. I mean, if there's a 50-50 share program that we need to look at where a resident wants to replace the sidewalks or needs to replace the sidewalk, maybe we need to look at that too and have a payment plan based on our water billing system that we can spread those payments over a 2-3 month period or a 2-3 payment period. But across the board to hit every single resident and existing business in this community for wanting to improve their property or put a new garage or a new driveway and to hit him for a sidewalk fund, I think is not fair in my opinion. I think it's not fair to those who are here and those who are trying to encourage to spend money and improve their property for sidewalks that, unfortunately, people in the past didn't have the vision or thought that we ever needed them, or those who never paid for them. There's a lot of industry in here, I guarantee you, they didn't pay into a sidewalk fund when they came to this community 30 years ago, that are asking for that tax relief. Those are the guys that you would hit with a permitting, for this fee, and I agree with that, because they got away with it before without paying anything. But to do it across the board, village-wide, I don't think is fair. I really don't. And that's my comments. So does anybody want to piggyback or comment on what I'm saying? I welcome it. Trustee?
I mean, you got a 5-year plan here, okay? You're going to say we're going to drop the 0.3% after 5 years, or is it going to stay in place for replacements? And eventually, everybody's going to have their sidewalks replaced. So I think eventually everybody should pay into this.
And just to be clear, this is about looking at the village from a bird's eye view. This isn't about specific industries being able to fill in the gaps where they should have. I mean, this is looking at the village and looking at things like the active transportation plan and looking at connection between the north and the south and the east and the west. So these really are responsibilities of the village. The idea of paying into it, the only reason that this is coming up now as a sidewalk discussion, normally this would be no different than streets because it's taxes collected, you get X amount of dollars and those dollars pay for X number of things. We could absolutely just raise, our permit fee and just now include, as President Argyros said, just include every year we're going to spend $100,000 of CIP on sidewalks. We could absolutely do that. And I don't want the board to get caught up in now this 0.3%, everyone's paying for it. Everyone would be paying for it no matter what, because anytime you raise a fee or a tax, it's really all going in the same pot. It's general fund money. This isn't water or sewer fund. So to answer your question, Trustee Vogel, I think we would have to reassess after the end of this plan. This plan is 7 years. At the end of that time, to see if there are either other areas that the village sees that there should be sidewalks and leave that 0.3% increase in, or reevaluate and say, okay, I think we're done, and remove it. But either way, it's the collection of money, it's the money in total that's going into the general fund that we're simply portioning that 3% to go towards sidewalks.
But wait, just if I may, Trustee, general fund or CIP fund?
Well, the CIP fund is paid for through the general fund.
CIP fund has always been funded by the user tax fund dollars.
For the most part.
Well, it did up to a couple of years ago when we had to dip into it. I mean, the utility tax was specifically started in this community, okay, based on taking those dollars, every dime of those revenues,
correct,
to create a capital improvement project fund. So it was self-funded. It didn't come from real estate taxes, it came from the user tax. You're saying it's $137,000 a year over a 7-year period, almost $1 million.
Correct.
To do this entire plan. I don't see that coming out of the general fund. I see that coming out of CIP. And it should come out of CIP. That's my opinion. Because it is and no, if you read what you got here, I mean, it's where it is.
Yes, that would be correct. The utility tax, both electric and gas go into the CIP fund, which is separate from the general fund.
Thank you. He's right, because it always has been. We've dipped into it to help balance the general fund, but those dollars are allocated to the CIP fund.
Agreed. And the monies collected from the permits are going
into the general fund.
That is the general fund that they go into, yes.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to say.
But I understand, but that needs to go to general fund for cost for that, not to build sidewalks. There's more human labor intensive things that should be paid from permitting fees versus cement for sidewalks. I'm just trying, I'm not getting into debate with you, but I mean, I look at what you found out from Buffalo Grove, Des Plaines, Palatine, Parkwood. Great job with that, with Skokie. I mean, Skokie's got a cap where anything over $10,000 is applied the special permitting fee. But you're going to take those dollars out of that special permitting fee and allocate it to a sidewalk fund? I mean, is the accounting department going to do that as well? I mean, how do we keep it simple? That's all I'm saying. And after we raised and maxed out the utility tax, what's for the purpose of, Trustee Hines says, the active transportation plan. There's things down in the CIP 5-year budget plan that I allocate and spell out what we're trying to do in this community. And then we have a revenue source to help try to pay for it. I just think going beyond that is against the principles that we try to create. That's all, and that's just me. I'm one vote. I'm one opinion, that's all. But I thought this out hard, and I thought, it doesn't make sense. If we need to raise the permitting fees, we should raise it to cover our general fund cost of keeping those individuals and working in this community development department that try to expedite the permitting process quicker, to get the software behind it, to outsource some of the things that we need to do to help pay for that, not for sidewalks. And I know we're coming at budget time, we're going to be looking at trying to get back up to snuff with what we charge for our permits, because we're behind. But now we need to look at that and increase that as well over and beyond what's being proposed here tonight. That's all I'm saying. So I'm sorry, Trustee Vogel, I kind of cut you off there.
That's right. The only other thing is that I think you said, what do I benefit by paying that fee? I think I benefit by having sidewalks connecting roads to Heritage Park, and
agree.
The kids that are walking to school over by the high school by finishing off those roads. So it's not just the immediate residents that, front the sidewalk. It's the whole village is going to benefit from it. So I think the 0.3% is not that much to ask for. What was it, $30 on a $10,000 improvement?
On $500, it would be $1.50.
Yeah. So.
Anybody else?
I agree with them. That money from both the tax and contributions should be in the CIP budget, not in the general fund.
Ray, Bill, anybody else? I think the consensus is here. We want to see the plan done. Okay.
Sure.
I think we got a budget hearing coming up in October, November, which we're going to talk in depth regarding revenue sources and stuff like that. Nothing's going to get proposed prior to that regarding the budget.
Correct.
Thing.
Correct.
You know what? It gives you guys some time to really think out what I said and what you heard on this board. We want to see the 7-year program. The consensus is right. We want to see the 7-year program.
Right.
Right, we do. We want to see how we're going to find $1 million to do it.
Well, and that's my question. I just want to make sure that I understand. Because if we raise the permit fee, very accurately to your point, if we raise the permit fee, then that money would go to support personnel services. So the question then remains, how do we raise the CIP monies in order to pay for the construction of new sidewalk?
Well, I think you come up with a program, my opinion is when you see new development here that doesn't call for sidewalk, there's got to be a formula out there where you're collecting dollars from that development to put into a sidewalk fund to help fund this. Because that's gone to the wayside all these years. It has. I think I can count one time how many somebody contributed to a sidewalk fund in this community in the 17 years I've been sitting up here. And just to find out from Director Monashane the other day, maybe we got $5,000 in it. After the assumption and that we thought there was tens of thousands of dollars in it, and there wasn't. We understand that, there wasn't. You got some time, you guys are doing budget stuff right now. So, and it's all about working the numbers and see, you know, and maybe tweaking the revenue from the capital improvements fund or your budget. Say, you know what, there's monies in the CIP now, isn't there, every year in your 5-year outlay plan?
We have monies in the CIP, but it's for removal and replacement only. It's like in Dunhurst right now we're doing, but it's not new sidewalks. It's removal and replacement.
And I think that's the point, because we need to be clear that in order to add this to the list of CIP projects, we could easily take the money, as Trustee Hines said, from either MFT or TIF. The question is, though, that what then doesn't get done in order to use that money for sidewalks, which is why the idea is to come up with a new revenue source, whatever that may be. Understood.
But you're looking at $137,000 to do a 7-year plan with all the proposals you have in here. Find $137,000, whether it be from TIF, whether it be MFT, whether it be from the user tax. It's $137,000. Times 7 is $960,000 to do this 7-year plan.
But that's 137,000 take away from roads, for instance, or take away from something else. I mean, it's a function of something's going to be lacking for the 137. That's all.
I think the consensus, I know the consensus is we want to see the 7-year plan.
Okay.
We know that you have to increase something, but who pays for it, how you do it, I think you still, with staff, need to sit down and come up with a fair analogy of how you do that. Okay? Whether, you know what, come budget time, or you come back at 0.30 again, I mean, it's 0.30 and we take a vote and we move on. But if there's other things, like, you know what, a good portion of the 7-year program are in 5 TIFs, which is a TIF eligible expense. So instead of burdening the taxpayer or, you know, the general fund or the CIP fund, you know what, maybe we could take $50,000 out of each TIF or one TIF to help pay for part of this program. I don't know. You guys know. And I think what we're asking for is maybe look at that a little closer, that's all. The consensus is 7-year program, absolutely. And we know we got to pay for it.
President Argyros.
Sure.
Are you saying that the burden would be put on homeowners, for instance, for in some of the permitting fees? I mean, you look at a typical permit and what it costs, and the 0.3% is really pretty low. I mean, can we, if that's the problem, can we exempt the homeowner permit and just go with the permits from
For commercial and industrial. I mean, that's a suggestion these guys can come back to us with.
We could, and the result would be, and this is just, it's a numbers game, we absolutely could do that, and that this would then increase to maybe a 10 or 12-year program. That's all.
So you're saying just that alone may take that much longer to complete this process?
For a 7-year program, we would need approximately $137,000. So if you remove the residential portion of that, and I don't know, Mark, if you can answer this off the top of your head, as to what portion would be, remodels, say, it would just take that much longer in order to get to the $137,000 per year.
Okay, I think the 7-year program is something that we want to stick with and not expand at all, based on what I've heard here as well. So however we get there, fine, but maybe we increase that 0.3 to 0.4 for commercial and industrial, or something like that as well, as another option.
And that's another option.
And again, just to make myself clear, I hate to use a revenue source that's generating revenue for a general fund to pay for capital improvement projects. How's that? I think that makes sense. Because if you're increasing revenue and your permitting process revenue to help pay your general fund, why are we taking general fund revenue dollars out to pay for sidewalks? Well, you have an allocation of CIP, MFT, TIF funds that should pay for this program. We need those dollars that are being generated from the permit increases that are going to be proposed next year to help pay for the general fund, balance our budget, not pay for sidewalks. That's all I'm saying. And if that doesn't make sense to everybody, then I apologize, but I think we got to stick to revenues are used for specific things, not deviate from that. So, 7-year program, everybody's good with, $137,000, we understand it. Let's find a mechanism or a revenue source other than our general fund to pay for it. That's all I'm asking. Okay? Good, thank you. Official communication, Trustee Brady, welcome back.
Thank you. None, other than have a good time in Canada, so.
Good. Trustee Kruger?
I had a great time at the Rockin' with the Cops event last night, so thanks you all who participated. And that's all I have.
Thanks. Trustee here?
Nothing, thanks.
Trustee Vogel?
Just briefly, you had mentioned Emma earlier, and the fundraiser they did at the steakhouse for her on September 1st. Just mention it ahead of time now. There's going to be pancakes for Emma at St. Joe's Social Hall on Sunday from 8 a.m. until noon, and I'll give you more of an update at our next meeting at the end of August.
Thank you. Trustee Hind?
Had a great time rocking with the cops last night. That's it.
Trustee Lang?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Clerk Simpson?
Tomorrow night is National Night Out in the community, is a community police awareness raising event in the U.S. held the first Tuesday of August. A lot of the communities will be having it from 6 to 8:30. The event has been held annually since 1984 and is sponsored by the National Association of Town Watch of the United States and Canada. The event is meant to increase awareness about police programs in communities such as drug prevention, town watch, neighborhood watch, and other anti-crime efforts. And the board will be visiting all the neighborhoods that are having the National Night Out tomorrow. It's supposed to rain, you know.
Say a prayer.
Just like last year.
Bring an umbrella.
Just like last year.
And then the Wheeling Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association is having a fundraiser. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet at Golden Chef Restaurant at 600 South Milwaukee Avenue. It's 1 to 4 o'clock on Sunday, August 11th. Tickets are sold at the door. It's $12 for adults. Children under 8 are $7. Soda and alcohol drinks are extra, but the buffet includes chicken, beef, veggies, egg rolls, noodles, and rice, also tea, water, a special cookie, dessert, and fortune cookies, and the Police Academy will also be having a raffle.
Anything else?
That's it.
Manager Svandelos?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Just a couple of things real quick. Again, to Chief Benson and his department, on behalf of the board, we again express our condolences and deepest sympathy to your department. And I'll tell you something, you talk about family of a community, not just the police department, fire department, CD, PW, administration, this village board, the residents, something to see, how everybody came together and was there for one another, whether it be to console, to have a few laughs, to be there in support. That procession that came by here on Thursday prior to her going to the airport to be flown down to Florida, and to have all the staff out there out of respect is a testament to our community and what we're all about, and I'm proud of that, and I know everybody here is as well. Rocking with the cops last night, your department, once again, fire department, PW helped out with that. Special kudos to Trustee Vogel. You talk about a guy that comes out all the time, and when you hear something for the kids or something, he's the first guy to step to the plate. This man with the Knights of Columbus, along with Trustee Brady and everybody else there, I mean, I had the luxury of smelling like hamburger overnight. I cooked like 240 of them. But it was fun, and everybody was there to contribute, and you could tell everybody had a good time, and those are good, positive community things that I personally love. I really do. So it's all good. Approval of the minutes for July 11, 2013 through July 31st. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Lang.
Second.
Trustee Vogel, seconded. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Hyde?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris?
Yes. We do have executive session this evening to discuss pending, probable, or imminent litigation, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employee or employees of the village, the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the village, the purchase or lease of property by the village. I entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Lang, second by Trustee Brady. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Hyde?
Yep.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
Good night.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Juris?
Yes. We'll go into executive session at 9:10. Good night, everybody. Thank you.